Hi, everybody. It's Craig from Picks and Parlays. And of course, with me, Tim Earl, one half of your twins, Earl Sports Bets, and NCAA tournament time. Selection Sunday. Brackets are out. We're, 2 hour and a half after the brackets. And I said, hey, Tim, let's kind of break down the brackets, not necessarily for just betting purposes, although, of course, all this can be betting as well, but for like filling out your brackets. So we're going to kind of fill out our brackets and kind of give you what we like. And of course, we'll talk about how you can get our best bets and all that kind of stuff. All right, let's kick it off though. Early action. Tim, I was shocked. First of all, Big East only got 3 teams. I thought that was a shock.
That's fair. I thought that was fair.
You know, if their middle of their pack wasn't as good as what everybody says, that was. And then I thought the Mountain or the Boise State and all those teams, I thought got underseeded, all of them. So we'll talk about how that affects our picks and how that affects the brackets as we go forward. So we're going to start in the East bracket. Number 1 overall seed, UConn faces Stetson. Nick, I don't think you're going to probably go out on a limb here and pick anything but UConn, I'm assuming, right?
I mean, Stetson out right now. No, come on. We've only seen 2 1 seeds lose a game in the first round. I don't necessarily see that this year. And if it's any of them, it's definitely not Stetson.
Yes.
I think if there's a team to do it, in my opinion, it's Montana State if they make it past Grambling and go against Purdue. There's only been 2, but 2 of us been in the last 5 years, and 1 was last year with Purdue. So I agree. I'm not buying any of it. I'm not buying
it.
This year.
So we move on, and we've got kind of the darling of last year, one of the darlings of last year's tournament. FAU, of course, run to the Final Four. Pretty much have the exact same team back. Face Northwestern here. That mid-season, I thought Northwestern could be a top 5 seed, and then injuries happened, and they still have Boo Buie, which is maybe the best guard in the country, and then Davis for FAU is we know what he did last year. What do you think about this FAU Northwestern matchup?
I think a lot of people are going to look at FAU last year and just that might be your most popular 8 seed that people pick. And most popular maybe 8 seed to make it further than the second round. Because they saw what they did last year. I'm going to be on Northwestern in that game. I think it's a 1.5. And watching FAU throughout the year in the American, I wasn't impressed. They got wins, but they weren't dominant wins. Northwestern played in a tougher conference. I think Northwestern's got the upper hand here.
Well, I actually like FAU here. Because of the injuries at Northwestern, we saw they're not the deepest team. This isn't like, UConn that or even Auburn. Auburn has 10 guys that they can go. If you lose an injury, a guy, especially a big guy that they can't replace, it's tough. I think FAU will spread them out. I think Boo Buie will keep them in the game, but I do like FAU in this matchup. So what we'll do is kind of go down through these, and then we'll head back up the bracket as we go. So going down this bracket here, San Diego State, UAB. UAB, nice win to get into this big dance. San Diego State, very impressive all year long. And, of course, in the championship game last year, what do you like at San Diego State here?
I'm kind of feeling an upset. I feel like this could be one of your 12-5 upsets. UAB's playing really well down the stretch, and watching them go through that American Conference now, they beat South Florida. That was their big win in the bracket. Temple beat FAU. I think UAB, I would ride out that one a little bit. Obviously, it might be a tough matchup in the second game that they would have to face, but another one of those. You look at San Diego State, they made the finals last year, and they're in the exact same spot as they were last year. And I don't know if I'm necessarily going to – I kind of want to look at it, see where a lot of people are going to go, and I might want to go the opposite way. I feel like UAB can be one of those underdogs in this bracket.
I think it's a tough spot. I do think it was a great run. I think their conference this year, because FAU wasn't nearly as – didn't really perform like we expected. Yep. I mean, USF won that league as far as the regular season. I like San Diego State here. I think they played in a much tougher schedule. They're tournament hardened. I love Andy Kennedy. He was interim coach at Cincinnati. I just think it's a tough spot. They play wide open. in a San Diego State team that does not like to get it up and down. I think it's going to be a slower game. I think that favors San Diego State. So I'm going to take San Diego State.
By the way, San Diego State is a 7.5 point favorite in that game.
Yeah, big favorite. Deserving, I think. Auburn,
I think
Yale.
For sure.
Auburn wins the SEC. Kind of got a little break with Florida. Big guy breaking his leg in the first few possessions. This is an Auburn team that can go 10 deep. We've seen that they can. It seems like they either blow teams out. I think they have the most 20-point wins on the year in a very tough SEC, and we've seen that they can get blown out. Now Yale is a team that had to really, kind of struggle. Brown really should have beat them, had them up and missed some free throws. What do you think this Auburn-Yale game? Any chance on Yale here?
No, I have Auburn as a Final Four team, so I think Auburn is going to be a strong, a very, very tough out in the bracket. And although I was super high on Yale, I mentioned about 2.5 months ago on Free Pick video saying Yale's going to win the Ivy League. A lot of people disagree with me, and well, they're in the bracket now. Although I've been backing them a bunch. They're my little money maker, Yale. I can't fit Auburn here. And Auburn is a 11.5 point favorite.
Big favorite, deserving favorite. I could see this one get out of hand. I do like Auburn. BYU, Duquesne. I think this is the Duquesne is a very tough team. A10 was, I think, very underrated this year. I thought VCU was good. Richmond was good. Loyola Chicago was good. I'm missing teams. St. Bonaventure was good. Obviously, we know how good Dayton was. Even St. Louis at times. This is a very tough conference.
I was unimpressed with Dayton, but we'll get into them later.
I think this is a Duquesne team that plays very good defense. They've got some playmakers that can make shots. If they shoot like they did in the A10 tournament, they're going to win this game. I think BYU, yes, they had some really nice wins. The win at Kansas, I think, is what's going to set everybody off. But this is not the same Kansas team we've seen in years past. Give me Duquesne in this matchup. Nice little upset. What do you think?
I'm on the same page. Duquesne's another one of those teams that I wrote a lot this year. And that they made me some money, especially in the A10. I rode them pretty much throughout the A10 tournament. BYU, yes, you mentioned they have a couple good wins, but I want to at least take the 7.5 with Duquesne. This is a 7.5 point spread, so should be.
I think it's one of those interesting games, Tim. When you think about the middle to the bottom of the Big 12, I think got a lot of credit because, of course, a lot of these teams won at home and had some nice big upsets. And the conference is so good. So you get a couple of these wins, now you're in the tournament. I saw them in person at Cincinnati. I wasn't super impressed. I think this is an upset. Next game we're looking at here as we go down the bracket, Illinois and Morehead State. If Shannon shoots like he did through the Big Ten tournament, Illinois can win it all. They're also a team, if he doesn't shoot well, they don't have a whole lot of depth at scoring. I don't think Morehead State can beat them, but I think this is closer than think. I'm going to take Illinois. What do you think here?
I there's Illinois on your bracket, but I think that Morehead State could definitely keep this one close if they shoot hot. This is also going to be probably a lower scoring game. Illinois played good defense. Especially they probably can play good defense, especially against Morehead. So lower scoring games kind of lean towards the dogs for me. So it would be Illinois to win, but I don't know if they necessarily. It's a 12.5.
I don't know if it'll be low scoring if Illinois they really turned it on now. If you shoot the way they've been shooting, it's hard not to score because you're shooting at 50% from three. So, but this is a team that does shoot the ball well from three. They do have 3 or 4 good shooters, and when you have Shannon that he can drive and kick, I think it's a team that's interesting to make a run. I just think a lot of people are going to be on them because we saw what they did in this tournament, in the Big Ten tournament. Washington State at Drake or versus Drake here. I think this is a dangerous Drake team. I like Drake here in the upset. Washington State, great season, great turnaround of this program. But we've seen when teams kind of make that first step, they're sometimes not ready. And it's a very young Washington State team. Give me Drake in this spot.
I'm on Washington State. I think that Drake's going to be one of your popular dogs, or one of your popular Cinderella stories. It would have been the same thing if Indiana State got in, which I wish Indiana State got in at large. But Drake had a really good season, 28-6. But I would have to go towards Washington State here. I think they're more battle tested.
Tell me this: Washington State, if they're in the Big 12, do they make the tournament this year? Because I think they have like 16 wins. I thought it was a very average Pac-12 this year. And Washington State, you cannot fault them. They win the games. You can only win the games that are in front of you. But I thought this was an average Pac-12 season, and I think they got the benefit of that. Now we'll see. We'll see, because it's when you're beating each other, everybody you don't know, but you only know when come NCAA tournament.
Yeah, although you look at Drake, they went 28-6.
Yeah, they don't have opportunities.
What's their best win? Indiana, one win against Indiana State at home.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously you don't have no wins against tournament teams. They didn't really get battled to. Oh, sorry, they have a win against Akron. Sorry, Akron's a tournament team, but they don't have any good wins to me. So I don't know.
Iowa State, South Dakota State, Iowa State. I mean, they basically played a home. It felt like a home game when you watched them against Houston. Very good win. I thought maybe they could sneak into the number one. I don't think it really matters.
I thought they should have.
South Dakota State here. What do you think?
I thought Iowa State should have been a number one over UNC, and I mean, I root for UNC, so it's like I still think Iowa State should have been the number one. They won a big blowout versus Houston in the finals. I saw Carolina pop up as a 1, and I was very surprised. I think this is a blowout. This is not the same South Dakota State team that a lot of people saw a couple of years ago make a tight game against Providence in the bracket. This is a team that barely got in because their conference is garbage. So Iowa State should run through them. 16.5 is a lot, but we'll see.
I like Iowa State to win, but I think it's actually closer. Iowa State doesn't.
16.5. So
Iowa State plays low-scoring games. I mean, they did obviously the last game against Houston. It was an aberration. They shot the heck out of the ball, and Houston just couldn't stop them. But I think this is going to be a closer game than expected. But I do like, as far as just outright win, I do like Iowa State. Now we go back to the top of the bracket. We got I have UConn FAU matchup to get out of this spot. I like UConn. I don't think anybody can beat UConn in this bracket. And then after that, I have San Diego State Auburn. I like Auburn. Who do you like out of to get to the Sweet 16 there out of those top two?
I'm in the same boat. I have UConn and Auburn. I have UConn over Northwestern. UConn's just going to be very tough to beat. And then Auburn, I mentioned I have Auburn as a Final Four team. So UAB, solid run, but going up against an Auburn team is going to be very tough for them.
And then I have UConn beating Auburn. You said you have Auburn, so we'll take care of that. Then we move down. I have Duquesne and Illinois here. I love Illinois in this spot. And in the bottom, I have Drake and Iowa State. I think it's Illinois, Iowa State. What do you have?
I got Illinois over Duquesne as well. Duquesne, solid. I mean, big win over BYU if they get through them. Illinois is just gonna be too much for them. I actually have Washington State over Iowa State. I think that away from home, that's where Iowa State may struggle more. They're not going to struggle against South Dakota State, but Washington State could be a interesting spot here as one of my lower teams to make a deep run or make a Sweet 16. So I got Illinois and Washington State.
All right, and then out of that bottom half, I have UConn. I have Illinois, Iowa State facing off. I have Iowa State and then playing UConn. So what do you have as your Sweet 16 and Elite 8 there?
I had Auburn and Illinois, and I have Auburn going to the Final Four.
Okay, I have UConn going to the Final Four in this spot. So there we go. He's got Auburn. We already got a lot of differences there. Don't forget, as you see right here on the screen, picksandparlays.net/madness. That'll get you either my plays or the Earl Sports Bets all the way through $199. You can purchase them, of course, both $199 a piece. So make sure you take advantage of it. That's not just your March Madness picks all the way through April 8th. It'll be all sports. So I don't do a ton of NHL, maybe a couple a month, but also will be baseball. We'll have baseball coming up in a couple of weeks, and of course the NBA. So make sure you get in on that. picksandparlays.net/madness. All right, let's move on to the next bracket here. And I think this is maybe one of the better brackets as far as the regional. North Carolina, your North Carolina. I'm just going to pencil them in. They play the winner of Howard and Wagner. I don't think it really matters. I think North Carolina takes care of business. I think you probably say the same. So let's just move on past that. We got Mississippi State, Michigan State. I was shocked that I thought for sure, especially with all the upsets, that Michigan State was going to be in the play-in game.
I thought Michigan State was going to be out entirely.
I thought it was like they were going to be the last team in or the second to last team in or maybe the first team out. Very shocked that they got an 8-9 matchup. I do think they rewarded Michigan State for playing the always tough schedule they do. I don't think it's enough. I just think Mississippi State is too big, too fast. I think the SEC was really good this year, and I think the middle of the SEC is going to dominate the middle of the Big Ten. I like Mississippi State. What do you like here?
This one's a toss-up. Obviously, I'm trying to let's
8-9. That's what we expect.
Well, yeah. I'm trying to find the spread on this one, but
I'm guessing Michigan State's favored.
I figure the same. Michigan State's a 1.5 point favorite.
Yep.
I kind of trust Tom Izzo. To Izzo in the tournament, especially as a lower seed. He normally is capable of upsets. I'm gonna back him here. I'll be on the Sparty party. Yeah, I know I didn't expect Michigan State to get in at all after watching all those upsets. All those bid stealers, and the fact that there were 9 tells you they weren't even a bubble team, which is crazy to think of.
Yep.
Mississippi State got in because of a big win over Tennessee in the tournament. They were kind of a bubble team that got him in there. But I like Michigan State over it. Should be a good game. Toss up.
Should be a great game. St. Mary's Grand Canyon. This Grand Canyon team, if you haven't watched Coach Drew, he's the guy that hit the amazing shot against Valpo. Then took Valpo, and then he went to what? It was Vanderbilt, and then got fired. Now he's at Grand Canyon. He's done a great job rebuilding that program. St. Mary's, though, is for real. I'm shocked they didn't get a 4 seed. I really thought this was the best team outside of the Power 5 this year. They didn't get a whole lot of respect here. I think St. Mary's earns the respect here. They're very good on defense as always, but this is a team that scores a lot more than years past.
I think Grand Canyon's can be another one of those popular underdog story picks.
5-12, they always you always get them.
I mean, you look at them having a 29-4 record. 29-4. I think St. Mary's is -4.5. I'm going to be on St. Mary's. I think they blow them out. Because you look at the difference in competition. Obviously, in that in the WAC with St. Mary's and Gonzaga, that's pretty much it. But Grand Canyon,
they just beat Gonzaga. They beat the heck
they
out
did.
of Gonzaga, and the Gonzaga was
what, twice this year.
Wasn't they 12 in a row they had won, or 14 in a row? Like Gonzaga really got hot at the end of the year, and they didn't just beat them; they pounded them. So I think you're right. I think this is a blowout. I think it'll be a very popular pick, Grand Canyon. Because if you watch Grand Canyon win the championship game, they were great.
I will relate this. I'll relate this to a game from last year in the bracket, because everybody was all over Oral Roberts last year against Duke in a 5-12 matchup, and I was all over Duke in that game, and Duke blew them out. I see the same thing here.
All right, so we go to the next game, Alabama, Charleston. I have a lot of history in this game. One, Pat Kelsey and me had some wars in growing up from a peewee basketball all the way to high school. I even played against him in college when he played at Xavier. He is a great player. He is a great coach. He did amazing things at Winthrop. This guy was coached under Skip Prosser, if no one knows. That's kind of was his protege. He coached him at Xavier. Then he is a great coach. Tough spot. A great team. I thought this team could be a team that pulled upset. This Alabama team is really good. And Coach Oates, he's had a couple disappointing outings in the tournament. I think there's a little pressure on him. I think Alabama gets a close win in this one.
I'm going to go with an upset. I think Bama's defense is going to be the death of them because, I mean, I will say this is a 10.5. But I think Charleston has a shot in this one to win outright. Alabama, I'm just not in. As I mentioned, it's going to be the defense that, for me, that's going to end up burying them. When you allow 102,
just so you know, Charleston's not the best. I've watched them a ton this year. Like I said,
no, they are not.
Not the greatest defense team either. This could be an up and down, like
it could be. This one could be an over.
Interesting game. What's the total in this one?
I don't have any totals yet. I just have spreads.
I'm guessing 150 to 158 to 161.
If it's somewhere there, I'm going to take the over easily.
They both love to get it up and down. Okay, so you got an upset. I got the favorite. We go down to the next game. I like an upset here. Clemson, New Mexico. New Mexico ran through. I thought a very good Mountain West this year. They needed, obviously, to do it to get in. I just think this New Mexico team, they can spread you out. They don't have the biggest guys, and Clemson can really pound you inside. But, man, Their three guards at New Mexico, House and Mashburn, and starts with an H. I can't think of it. The new kid has really came into their own. I think they stay hot. I like New Mexico in an upset here.
I actually have Clemson.
ACC guy. I ACC guy.
I have I have Clemson making a little bit of a run in the bracket. So I think it's a good buy low spot on them, because the last thing everybody saw was them losing to Boston College. Sorry, getting blown out by Boston College. And they got a 6. I'm surprised they got as high as they did after the performance they put in the ACC tournament. But everybody just watched New Mexico win their conference. So just a little bit of a.
It's Clemson's inside versus New Mexico outside. Whoever wins that
be a solid matchup. Let's pull up. What is the spread in this one?
7?
Is New Mexico -2.5. So technically, I got the upset in this one. I got the upset. Wow. Clemson outright.
I'm shocked to know. Baylor, Colgate. I love Baylor in this spot. This Baylor team, they do not defend well. So I don't have them making a deep run. But I think against Colgate, they're just too much. I mean, Baylor has 3 pros that aren't like just like get in the league kind of guys. These are real dudes. I like Baylor in this spot.
We see the same thing every year from Colgate. They dominate the Patriot League, and they get blown out in the first round. And I think that's what we see again this year. Colgate's actually got they made the NCAA tournament 7 years in a row now. So we're 6 or 7 years. So they're one of the longest teams in terms of making the bracket. I think they're tied for 7th longest streak. But when you play in the Patriot League, there you go. No, I think Baylor blows them out. It's a 13.5 point spread at open. So I think Baylor minus the points could be a good play here.
I'm guessing this Dayton Nevada game. I'm guessing Nevada's the favorite. I have not looked at the spreads. I wanted to do all this live so that I could truly. Dayton, they won so many close games this year. I think it kind of starts to come back to get them. It kind of did in the tournament, in the A10 tournament. I think it does again. This Nevada team's really good. Give me Nevada to move on in a slight upset here.
Nevada is a 1 point favorite.
Yeah.
And I think I have Nevada. I have not been high on this Dayton team all year. I have faded them plenty of times. I've made money fading them all year. I thought they should have been more of an 8-9 seed rather than a 7. I am on Nevada in this one.
Don't you think, though, this is like one of those, you take 2 or 3 of those really close wins that Dayton won and you give them losses, guess what? They're not in the tournament. Now, that doesn't the way it works in real life, but to me, it's kind of like when you're betting against teams and they win all they get all the breaks in the NFL. Usually the next season they don't. Minnesota Vikings comes to mind over the last 2 years. I think it's kind of that in Dayton. Now you could look at it the other way. In close games, they have the experience. Maybe if it's a close game, but I think the Mountain West is going to show out, and I like Nevada in this spot. At the bottom spot, I think maybe the best story in the tournament, Arizona. Obviously, we know what they are, but Long Beach State, they tell their coach on Monday this past Monday, sorry, we don't want you anymore, Coach Munson. If you don't know him, he was the one that in mid-90s, built Gonzaga up, made that amazing run. I believe it's either 98 or 99. And then he goes on to take the Minnesota job, doesn't work out, takes a Long Beach State job. He's been there like 18, 19 years, and they said, hey, we don't want you. He goes on, of course, wins the tournament, and now we see him here. So great run. I think it comes to an Arizona, I think, for real. I think they move on here.
Arizona is a 19.5 point favorite.
Deserve.
Yeah, I think they win by all those points. And this is an Arizona team that they're good, but you mentioned earlier with the Pac-12 this year, Pac-12 wasn't all that special. And with that, I would kind of expect them to be a little bit better. The fact that they lost in the tournament to Oregon, I was pulling that one up, was a little bit shocking to me, a little bit concerning, if anything. But they should be able to take care of Long Beach State.
But we'll talk about Oregon in a minute. I think the Oregon team got a bad rap on what they weren't very good because they had 7 to 8 scholarship players most of the season. They only had 2 starters that started the year, that ended the year. They had 3 guys that were out for the year. So this Oregon team got better. And we
will definitely be talking about that Oregon team there.
But I don't think it was as bad as Wednesday. And they were up 10.5. That was maybe the worrisome that they didn't play late. Okay, so let's go back to the top of this bracket. I like North Carolina, Mississippi State. I like North Carolina to get out of that one.
Mm-hmm.
And then St. Mary's, Alabama. Tough matchup. I'm taking St. Mary's here. I just think St. Mary's defense will slow down Alabama, and I think they play their best when it's open. So North Carolina, St. Mary's out of to the Sweet 16. What do you like out of there?
I'm on the same two teams for the Sweet 16, even though I have the other two teams that they're going up against flopped.
Yep.
UNC's just Michigan State solid enough to get past Mississippi State, but UNC I think is going to be a really tough out in the bracket. And then St. Mary's I feel like St. Mary's is the second best team in this part of the bracket. And obviously I think number one is North Carolina, but St. Mary's should be able to get past Charleston for me. All
right, the bottom half, New Mexico, Baylor. I call me crazy. I like New Mexico here, and I like Arizona. I think New Mexico's guard play. I know Baylor's got great guard play, but I think the hot team stays hot here, and I love Arizona. I just think Nevada's a great team. I just don't think they can score with Arizona. What do you like?
I'm in the same page with I got Clemson over Baylor. I think that Baylor gets past Colgate, but I was not super impressed with Baylor this year. There's a lot of the bigger teams that they faced, they just couldn't beat. And yeah, I'm on Arizona. They should be able to take care of Nevada. In my opinion, that one shouldn't be that difficult of a game for them.
All right, then I've got North Carolina and Arizona facing off, with North Carolina moving on. I love guard play come tournament time. I think possibly the best point guard, if not top 3-point guard in the entire tournament, is Davis. Mm-hmm. I think North Carolina marches to the Final Four. What do you like?
Same page. UNC and Arizona.
I mean, you're a UNC guy, so I should have just said UNC.
Yeah, I know. But at least there's reasoning behind it. And then you got the Elite Eight is Arizona and UNC, and that's the Caleb Love game. Because he went transfer out of UNC, went over to Arizona, and I think he loses to him. I do have.
I thought it was a bad loss for both leaving. I thought they would have both been better, but I actually think both teams improved.
Yeah, it was good for both schools, for sure.
Like Love, I don't know if he didn't get along with his teammates in North Carolina. Like they just hit a ceiling, and they did not get better last year. I thought him going to it definitely motivated him. And so I love it. I do. Like I said, we both have North Carolina coming out of that bracket. So don't forget, picksandparlays.net/madness. You can get either my plays or Earl Sports Bets, $199. Of course, you can purchase them both, $199 a piece. Not only will you get all the college basketball plays that we have through the national championship game, you'll also get any other sports we have, including NBA, NHL, and baseball. Believe it or not, it's just 2 weeks away. So, all right, let's move on to the what do we have next? The top of the right is the South, which is kind of crazy. You think it'd be in the bottom right, but Houston and Longwood. I'm just going to say I'm taking Houston here. I'm sure you are as well. So let's move to Nebraska, Texas A&M. I think maybe one of the more interesting matchups. I don't know what the total is in this one. I'm sure it's not out yet. They usually put those out later on Sunday night. I think this is going to be in the 160s, I'm guessing. And I would take the over. I like Texas A&M here. I think the SEC, I talked about it. I think the middle of the SEC, I think, is better than any team in the league, maybe outside of the Big 12. And I think they prove it here. And I like Texas A&M pretty easily.
Now, I will say this is weird because I'm using covers for looking up lines real quick. The only total is for this game that I see. It's 144.5.
Whoa.
But I did grab Nebraska. I know Texas A&M. They had a how did they get? They won 2 games in the bracket in the SEC tournament against Ole Miss, which I thought Ole Miss was overrated all year. Kentucky, really good win against Kentucky, and then they lost to Florida, which Florida was on a nice little run.
But they had Florida down by 10 or 12 with like 8-10 minutes to go. So they kind of fell apart. But Florida's good. I think Florida's really good. Unfortunately, they did have a loss. Yeah. But all right, so I'm on Nebraska. So we're on opposite teams there of the bracket. We move down. Wisconsin, James Madison. I think this is going to be the most picked game out there as far as upsets. I think James Madison is the better team defensively, which that's hard to say. Usually you think Wisconsin at defense. This is a higher scoring offensive team of Wisconsin, but it's also a worse defensive team. And I think James Madison is just the team of destiny this year. I like James Madison in the spot, even though it is what you would call a public underdog.
This is probably the public underdog that I'll fall for. I am going to be on JMU, and it's a 4.5. So it's not that crazy of a spread. Wisconsin coming off of the Big Ten tournament loss in the finals. JMU obviously won the Fun Belt, although they did not have to play App State, which was a big W for them that they didn't have to, because that would have been the biggest concern within them facing App State.
Yeah, they beat Arkansas State, right?
They beat Arkansas State by 20 in the finals. So,
like you said, they kind of got a little
them there.
But hey, NCAA tournament time, that happens in the brackets too. Like sometimes you might advance because the 1 seed loses last year, like Purdue. So it happens
for sure. I like JMU. That'll be an upset.
And like I said, I think a lot of people are going to have that. Duke, Vermont. This is not a great Duke team. We obviously saw what they did. They lose first game in their in the ACC tournament for them. But Vermont, I just don't think can deal with the size of Duke and athleticism. I'm going to take Duke, even though I don't love it.
I'll take Vermont. I'll take a doggy.
Carolina guy. I figured this one might be.
Okay. I'm not. I mean, I don't think Duke's good at all. You get a team that lost to NC State in the first round that they play, which I mean everybody lost to NC State in that tournament.
That's right.
But this is just a Duke team that I was not impressed with all year. They couldn't beat Carolina. They lost to Wake Forest Forest, which was not a tournament team. Even the games that they won, a lot of them were struggle wins. Yep. And this is just a Duke team that, I know I'm a Carolina guy. I was not impressed. And I trust me, I've had brackets where I took Duke to go far.
This is a tough spot because Chris Collins doesn't have a whole lot of experience with a very young team. Now they do have experience at the point guard spot. Roach has been there for like 72 years, but this is a team where if Coach K was coaching this team could be a Final Four type team because they do have talent.
Correct. And they probably wouldn't have. They probably would have won some of the closer games by more, and they probably wouldn't have gone upset, and they probably would have taken a game against Carolina.
Yep.
With Coach K. But they don't.
He's done better than what I thought, but I do think they win this game. I know you're picking an upset. All right, let's go down the next game. Texas Tech, NC State. I mean, I'm going to take NC State. I don't know how NC State, unless they just completely change what they've been doing, but they played inside out more than they have all year long, and it paid off. I hope they continue to do that because Texas Tech, I think, is way overseeded here. Give me NC State. I'm guessing, I haven't checked the spread on this one. I'm guessing NC State's just a small underdog, maybe 1 or 2 points, maybe.
5.5.
Whoa.
Yeah. I kind of view this the same way that we viewed when Virginia Tech ran through the ACC 2 years ago, and then they lost in the first round. Everybody just saw the miracle run from NC State. They went and they beat Duke. They beat Virginia. They beat UNC. Texas Tech is way more battle-tested. The Big 12 was way better in basketball, and Texas Tech's the better team by a lot. I think Texas Tech wins by double digits. I'm not a buyer in on this Wolfpack team. Prove me wrong. They can. They proved me wrong all through the ACC tournament, but I'll be on. I think.
I don't know if NC State, if they slow it down and throw it inside, I think they can play with Texas Tech. Now, if it gets up and down, Texas Tech's going to win. They're more athletic. They're deeper. It needs to be a slower game. We look at the next team. I think this is the biggest. Your opinion on Kentucky is you either think this team has the most talent but worst coach, or just most overrated team, or do you think they're amazing? I don't know. I like Kentucky to win this game. We'll talk about them after this. I think this is a Kentucky team that has the most talent he's probably had since the Anthony Davis team.
Yep.
The problem is they don't play any defense. He used to play defense and no offense. Now he plays offense, no defense. What do you think, Kentucky, Oakland?
Kentucky. They're a 13.5.
This is going to be up and down too. I
just don't see a team from the horizon beating them. This should be just a. They can.
Kentucky lost to bad teams all year, so it's not that they can't do it. I will say Kentucky won at Tennessee, one of the very few teams to win at Tennessee this year.
Yep.
So their best game can beat any team in the tournament.
Correct.
Their worst game, they could probably lose to almost every team in the tournament. That's the problem with Kentucky. But I do like them. We both like them. Florida versus the winner of Boise, Colorado State. I think Colorado State got Boise, Colorado. I think
I was about to say that's Colorado.
I think Boise and Colorado got misseeded here. I think both of these teams should not be in the play-in game. Like, Boise State was really good all year long, had some of the best wins on the road as well. And Colorado finished strong. You go all the way to the Pac-12 tournament, and you're a 10 seed, and you have to play in the play-in game. I think Colorado wins that game, and I think Colorado or Boise, whoever wins that, beats Florida. I just think Florida, without they weren't deep in on the inside. Now they lose their center. I think it's going to be a problem. I like the play-in winner to beat Florida here.
Obviously we don't know who. It just shows that the NCAA was not high on the Mountain West, and I think it shows. I think even short-handed, Florida should be able to take care of either one of those teams. Everybody, we could all say that Mountain West was very competitive this year, but I don't know how good the teams actually are, and I might actually lean more towards the committee, thinking that maybe the Mountain West isn't as good as we thought. And obviously we'll see how these teams look throughout the tournament. But I'm going to take Florida in that one. I originally had Florida making a little bit of a run, but I kind of switched it up a little bit.
Marquette, Western Kentucky. I think this Marquette team is elite, like elite. They just got to stay healthy. They're not the deepest team, and I love Shaka Smart. I think Marquette wins easy in this one.
Yeah, Marquette easy. I thought Marquette had a shot to beat UConn in the Big East championship game, and they stayed close for a while.
All right, Houston, Texas A&M. I got Houston coming out of there. James Madison, Duke. I would love for James Madison to beat Duke. I just think Duke's size is too much for him. I'm gonna have Houston Duke at the top.
I'm gonna have Houston going through Nebraska. Houston's another one of those legit teams. I know a lot of people saw how bad they looked against Iowa State. I think that was a fluke game. I think that was just Iowa State shooting lights out the entire game. And I have the 12-13 matchup with James Madison and Vermont. I have JMU making the Final Four. Not Final Four, sorry, Sweet 16. And beating Vermont in this one. JMU is just a team that I think could make a little bit of noise.
JMU Houston, right?
Sorry?
Houston JMU there?
Yes, Houston JMU.
Okay. I think JMU can beat, I think, Duke. They definitely, I think, will beat Vermont if that gets it. JMU's a really good team. NC State, Kentucky is what I have. I just can't see Kentucky not beating NC State. I think they're just too athletic, and I think the offense wins the deep. And I love Marquette in that bottom half. So Marquette, Kentucky. What do you like in the bottom?
Same picks. Marquette and Kentucky. Although I have Kentucky over Texas Tech, and I have Marquette over Florida. I think Florida shorthanded will catch up to them in this game against Marquette. I think Marquette's elite. I think they're definitely a Final Four caliber team. So I
have Marquette. I have Marquette Houston in the Elite Eight with Marquette going to the Final Four. What do you like there?
Same. I'm on the same thing. That was one I was going back and forth on with Houston and Marquette. I think Marquette has a shot to go far. And I do have them winning in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four against Houston. So yes, Marquette.
All right. So bottom or before I get to it, don't forget picks and parlays.netslash madness. As you see on the screen, you type that in. You can go get your all sports pass, $199, either my plays or Earl Sports Bets. You can purchase $199 a piece. You'll get all of our plays through the national championship game, all sports included, including the college basketball, NIT, and of course NBA, NHL, and baseball coming up in a couple of weeks. All right, let's go to the bottom half of the right side of your bracket. Purdue facing the play-in game winner of the 16. Obviously, we like Purdue, so we'll just move on to the next game. Well,
I mean, Purdue lost last year.
Hold on, I was going to say.
I will make the statement. If there is a number one seed that goes down, it's Purdue.
It's not happening this year.
It's not going to happen, but it would happen.
Purdue got better at guard play this year, so I think that's going to help them in the tournament this year. Purdue, Utah State, TCU. I think these are both really good teams. I like TCU in this spot. I think as good as Utah State was, which I think they were the actual winner of the very competitive Mountain West regular season, very close. But I thought they had I really thought San Diego State should have won, but they didn't. I like TCU in this spot, though. I just think TCU, I love their speed. I love their size and athleticism. I think they're too much.
Utah State's actually the only Mountain West team I actually have a little bit of confidence in. I know it sounds it's an 8-9, so it should be a close one. Yeah. It's a 3.5 in favor of TCU. I'll take Utah State now.
All right. We move down to Gonzaga, McNeese State. Of course, I believe this is where Will Wade's at, right?
What happened?
The former LSU coach is at McNeese State, I believe now.
I think that sounds right.
And first year here, he's turned this program around. What a turnaround. Just too much. I think this is a Gonzaga team. When Gonzaga's favored, like one of the top seeds, I usually try to bet against them. When they're actually in the 5 to 7 range, I'm actually betting with them. I like Gonzaga in this spot. I think Gonzaga, Nembhard at the guard play. I thought early in the year, his transfer over, it just didn't work out. He couldn't figure it out. I think he was playing too unselfish. He's really playing better, and it's really helped this team. I like Gonzaga. What do you like?
I think McNeese State will be the most pick upset, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I'm going to be on Gonzaga.
It's going to get a lot of.
No, McNeese State 30-3 this year, and I got Gonzaga. And actually, I'm kind of with you. I got Gonzaga making a little bit of a run, so I got them over McNeese State.
All right, Kansas, Stanford. We had Dickinson and McCollum set out the Big 12 tournament. I haven't heard if they're full go. I'm guessing they're both going to give it a go. If they're not, they definitely are going to lose this matchup. But I think they will go. I think Kansas will find a way. Bill Self in tournament time, very good. Very, very, very good coach. Give me Kansas in this spot.
I'm going to be on the upset. And this is going off of Dickerson and the Stars not being 100%.
I don't think Dickinson will be 100% for sure.
For sure. Them not being 100% is just a big red flag for Kansas, who has the streak for the most tournaments made in a row, or active streak for the longest tenured in the tournament. I'm taking Stanford as an upset here, and that's just going off.
Like I said, this Stanford team can play, and I think that's a dangerous spot for Kansas. Bill Self. If it was any other coach, I would pick against him. He's hard to bet against. Oregon, South Carolina.
That's a 7.5 point spread, by the way.
Oregon, South Carolina. Give me the spread in this game. I like Oregon, and I'm just going to say that before you tell me. I think this is going to be a much closer spread.
What do you think? What do you think the spread is?
South Carolina is maybe a 2-point favorite,
1.5.
Yeah. Deserving. I think this Oregon team, they have a top 10 point guard. And he's a freshman point guard, but he's been starting for forever. And they basically, with no depth, he basically plays the entire game. They could shoot threes. I can't think of their big guy. He's finally healthy. He's blocking shots. He was 12 for 12 last game to win the Pac-12 championship. It was unbelievable. I think he's a handful here. South Carolina, great season, but it's not the most talented team. They got it done. They won a lot of close games. Give me Oregon in this spot.
The numbers on South Carolina, like the advanced numbers, say that this is not that great of a team, and they got lucky in a lot of games. And I'll even go say
you make your own luck, but when you're winning 1, 2, 3-point games all the time, it just doesn't. Sometimes the bounces don't go your way.
No, give me Oregon. I'm on the upset in this game. I think South Carolina is the most overrated team in the back.
Creighton, Akron. Maybe the weirdest way to win a game. Akron, Kent State got fouls. They go up by 1, and the guy didn't realize it and fouled, and they end up losing. Akron ends here. Great story how Akron got here, but I think Creighton's for real. I think this team can actually win it all. I think they dominate in this one.
I got Creighton. I just don't think Akron is good enough to compete with this one. And this one is a 12.5 point spread.
Texas will face the winner of Virginia and Colorado State. Virginia, I mean, if they beat NC State, like they don't have to play in a playing game. That's basically what it was going to come down to.
Yep.
They don't. Now they have a very tough Colorado State team. But the one worry for Virginia is they cannot shoot free throws. They lost like 3 games this year because when they were leading, because they couldn't make free throws, and a couple they didn't cover, by the way, as well, and they still won the game. I like Virginia. I don't think Tony Bennett will not foul if he's up 3 at the end of the game ever again in his life. Give me Virginia and the great defense of Virginia. And McNeely, great shooter from very close to where I live now. He can really score and really shoot the ball. I think they win a very low-scoring, tough game.
I don't think Virginia should be in the tournament. I don't think they should be in it at all. This Virginia team is awful.
By the way, I'm taking Virginia to beat Texas, by the way, too. Sorry.
I think Colorado State beats Virginia. And I have Texas over the winner of that game.
The winner of that game will beat Texas. I meant to say that as well. But I just think Texas, they've got some great players. In fact, the kid from Oral Roberts, the transfer, unbelievable scorer. I think he's like top 5 all-time leading scorer in college basketball now. The problem is when you have good guard play that can defend you, that's not as easy. So I think Virginia will win. I think they'll shut him down. I like Virginia to match on. All right, you like Texas in that out of there, though? Okay. Then the bottom.
Colorado State over Virginia in the plans.
St. Peter's, of course, the run, Dougie McBuckets and all that. This is not that St. Peter's team.
No, sir.
Give me Tennessee. I think Tennessee is for real. Tennessee in this one.
Tennessee's a 19.5-point favorite. I don't have to say more on this one.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger favorites, I'm guessing, out of that one. And then let's go back to the top. I'm going to take TCU to beat Purdue. I just think this Purdue team's not very good. I won't say not very good. They're a great team in the regular season. They have average to above average guard play, and to win Sweet 16 games, and when they're always close, it seems like you got to have great guard play. I think it comes back to haunt them for the second straight year. Give me TCU in an upset. Below that, I have Gonzaga, Kansas. I like Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga's for real. And what do you like out of that to go to the Sweet 16?
Utah State over Purdue. I've been mentioning it for a while. I'm like, Purdue's not making it out of the first weekend. I think they're the first 1 seed that gets eliminated. And obviously, I have Utah State over TCU. So we have similar mindsets, but different teams. I think Purdue is the first 1 seed eliminated in the tournament. And I have Gonzaga over Stanford. As I mentioned earlier, I have Gonzaga making a little bit of a run. So I do have Gonzaga over Stanford.
All right, bottom half, I like Creighton and Tennessee. I think both of these teams are for real. I think the winner of this one goes to the Final Four. I'll just say that.
I have Tennessee. I'll say that. I have Tennessee over Texas. I got Oregon. I know a lot of people love Creighton. But we always have that double-digit seed that makes a little bit of a run, and I think Oregon definitely has the opportunity to. And I did take Oregon over Creighton.
All right, so I have Gonzaga beating Creighton, and I have Gonzaga beating TCU and Creighton beating Tennessee, and I have Creighton beating Gonzaga to go to the Final Four.
I've got Gonzaga over Utah State. I have Tennessee over Oregon, and then I have Tennessee making the Final Four. I think Tennessee is a buy low team, especially after that Mississippi State game in the SEC tournament. So I do have Tennessee going to my Final Four.
Tennessee's problem is they're not balanced scoring. So Tennessee's gonna have to find some balance if they want to make a run. And I think if they do, they can play defense with anybody. So, so my Final Four is UConn, North Carolina, Marquette, Creighton. What do you have?
Auburn, UNC, Marquette, and Tennessee.
All right. So UConn, North Carolina, I think UConn's just too much for them. I think it's going to be, as you see, I have 3 Big East teams, which is kind of funny that there's only 3 Big East teams all in the Final Four. I got UConn playing Marquette, with UConn winning it all for the second straight year.
I don't think there's going to be a repeat champion. There hasn't been one in 17 years.
Florida, right? Joakim
I think
Noah.
so. I do have UNC over Auburn, and I do have Tennessee over Marquette. I although that Marquette Tennessee game will be the game of the tournament, in my opinion. If it gets to that one, I think that one might be one of the best games of the tournament. And then I do have Carolina over Tennessee in the finals.
So how much is that as a UNC fan?
I actually think they're a legit team.
I mean, you don't get to be a number one seed if you're not legit. I think their one weakness is actually like coaching is a question mark for me still. Although he's been to the Final Four a couple of years, was it 2 years ago now?
He went to the finals against Kansas. Almost won the national championship. Was up big at halftime.
Probably doesn't, if he doesn't injure his ankle again in the second half, probably maybe wins that game. But I still think I don't know if he's there yet. You know what I mean? I think he's winning with better talent usually. I think this is the year that actually don't have great talent. He's actually overcoached or done a better job coaching and actually outcoached his the foes against a weak ACC. I think that's I think this is the most wide open tournament, and I end up having the number one seed overall. So go figure. So
sometimes chalk hits, but I think it should be a fun tournament. I definitely think there's 15 teams that could win it. There's a bunch of teams that could win it, but that I got Carolina.
I don't know about 15 teams, but I do.
Or there's a bunch of it's wide open. It's not like there's 4 teams that we think can win it all.
Here's what I say: I could give you 20 teams and find arguments that they make the Final Four this year.
Yes.
I don't know if I've ever been able to do that. Now, I still think out of those 20, there might only be 6, 7, 8 teams that I feel like can make the run. Now, they might just play the NC State and they just hit everything for the tournament and, throw threes in to send it overtime. That happens. It's harder to do that 6 games in a row against some of the best competition around. So, all right. So that's what we have, everybody. Don't forget picksandparlays.net/madness. You can get my All Sports Madness play or Earl Sports Bets for $199. That'll go all the way through April 8th, National Championship Day, and that includes all sports. Baseball is coming up. We've got, of course, NHL, NBA, and if you don't, NIT and some of these other tournaments as well. They're good money-making opportunities.
NIT, CBI.
So, all right, Tim, thanks for joining in. Thanks, everybody, for listening. If you haven't done so, hit that thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Make sure you don't miss out on all the stuff we do here daily. We'll be covering a ton of these games from not just me and Tim and the other half of the Earl's twin, Nick. We'll be covering it with all of our experts here and, of course, our buddy Lenny, Detroit Lenny. So if you see Detroit Lenny, he doesn't really have a dog in the fight because he has Michigan State. He's a Michigan State guy. They're not winning. All right, guys. Have a great day. Thanks, Tim.
See ya.